Update 1.0 is a triumph of graphics and optimization. The picture, effects, music, sounds, and the atmosphere in general take tank battles to a whole new level. Looking back, it might be somewhat scary because of the amount of accomplished work, and also due to the fact that the last update with 0 at the end was released as long ago as April 2014. And yes, there were no new maps released at all back then.
Update 9 was released with 10 to 20 new vehicles, completely reworked, and a new garage. But there were no new maps. All maps were adapted, and we spent all the time we had after the release on creating maps. So, together with the artists, we learned how to create content on a large scale, sharing the load, so that production took as little time as possible, and so on. And as usual, the last maps that we made on the Update 9 tag were much better than those that were released first, or even the garage we released.
The last map we made using old technologies was Pilsen, a Czech map. We squeezed all we could out of it. We used all the tag and functionality we had at the time.
Well, the quality of the textures from 2009 won't surprise anyone anymore, and this all went a bit separately from the tanks. The vehicles are of high quality, sometimes even too high quality. And the environment was average. Just sit down and do this, it seemed. But there were also system problems, because Big World didn't let us do everything.
We added different small improvements to the engine. But the further we went, the more we knew that we couldn't just go on tuning the engine with some features. It had to become unreasonable. We spent a lot of time on this and didn't receive the desirable outcome.
We knew that, for example, the work of the file system, work on a processor, on a graphics card, on preparing resources for rendering, and on shaders, it wasn't effective. It was all-embracing, but ineffective from the point of view of a 3D game application.
And then, in late 2014, we decided to just abandon many features and write them anew.
Some things hampered our evolution, and what we couldn't do, without mass conversion of content, we have done now.
Our code became so complex and the engine itself became so outdated, so it was easier for us to throw away big parts of it and just replace them.
So step by step we reached the situation where our internal changes had become dominant over the features of Big World itself.
This doesn't mean we wrote it 100% and there's not a single similar line of code. That's not the case, but about 80% of the code is new. We decided that it would be nice to do a real rebranding of what wasn't the Big World engine anymore. We decided to name it Core.
So it appeared that we had a new engine with new content. That's where we were at that moment.
The new Core engine became a breath of fresh air for the developers. All the hiccups, all the restrictions of the Big World engine were gone now. But this was just the first step. Because creating a platform is one thing, and building something awesome on it is another. For example, the working prototype of the Abbey map.
For the first couple of years, I wasn't confident that we would make it all the way to the end. Because there were times when the project was paused and there was no news about this integration map, Abbey, for half a year.
When we started doing this, when we started working on this, we realized it wasn't easy.
The game engine changed. That's all, forget it. There's no Big World anymore. Big World is used for the server component. The client component now runs fully on the core engine. It's not the Big World engine.
Everyone went like,
Only a few code lines remained in it.
We had the feeling that we took off in a very comfortable plane, but we were still assembling it on its way. It was a very stressful transition. We didn't have any illusions that it was all perfectly fine. It's not like that. It was hard. Something went wrong every day. It didn't work as it was supposed to. or we knew we hadn't taken something into account and needed to improve it.
A big step forward was made by our 3D engineering team, by those who dealt with optimization and created these graphics.
The artists were becoming more and more aware of what they were doing. They started spending less time on this, so they had more time for some tasty features.
In early 2014, we finally assembled a prototype that used an improved technological stack regarding optimization, performance, and test content.
Well, it's clear that many objects weren't there, but you could drive around that map and look at the existing objects. This was when we believed that we would do it, and we could do it, and we started doing this.
And that's when the work was in full swing. The developers set at the new technologies with unprecedented enthusiasm. Everyone wanted to show the new graphics to the players as soon as possible. So, as a result, we had that Abbey map. This very map, almost polished, beautiful and optimized, went to WG Fest 2016. This was the first official presentation of the new graphics, and to be honest, we had no idea how the players would take it.
Yes, we were excited. We thought we had missed something, had done something wrong. You know, there was joy that the audience would see what you had worked on for more than a year. But at the same time, you thought, I didn't do it in vain, right? Did I do everything right?
The first reaction was, is that so? Wargaming won't manage to do it, or it's all pre-rendered. What hardware can process this? So for this reason, we showed this at WG Fest at Ultra Settings. I think there was a GeForce 1060, and it showed more than 100 FPS. But not everyone paid attention to it. Some people defended us in the comment sections when someone was saying, it won't work on weak computers. You'll need 2 Titans in SLI mode for this. And people started answering like, man, I saw it at WG Fest, played it in real time, there was more than 100 FPS, no drops, everything was okay. And, bit by bit, people started trusting us. But you can't just earn trust and confidence, considering how many times we'd lost it. Let's be realists. We did lose it. That's why we needed to restore confidence in players. We decided that it would be nice to create a benchmark.
Listen, we have an awesome map. Let's get it all together. Assemble a build. Put it all there. Make a future mark. What mark? Nice. So we scratched our heads a bit. Well, yes, we could do that. We deliberately removed a lot of game settings from there so that you could roll and see for yourself if you were worried for some reason. But those who were worried tried it and made sure it wasn't as bad as they had thought.
And we chose a name in harmony with the core engine, Encore. They have the same logos, and it's another tool to bring back the trust of users. That these graphics will run on the same hardware, and it will look better. And there's no reason to panic.
And indeed, there were no reasons to panic. The new core engine allowed us to optimize things that previously couldn't be optimized in general. Our good friends at Intel helped us with that.
Intel and Wargaming have been, collaborating for years, and the World of Tanks 1.0 is a big moment for Wargaming and for the overall World of Tanks community. For Intel to be involved, it's extremely exciting, and we feel that, by bringing the latest in terms of technology to Wargaming and making sure we can offer the best gaming experience to all those gamers in the world is obviously extremely exciting for us, Intel.
We regularly receive new versions from the Wargaming engineering team. Then they're sent to one of the test labs in Munich and Oregon, where professional testers check the game's stability, its performance effectiveness. The tests of preliminary versions are done regularly. But since Update 1.0 contains the new core engine, we needed to be absolutely sure that the new version was stable and effective on all current and future platforms.
The guys helped us a lot, properly speaking. They came to us regularly with the results of what they had tested on their hardware, how much power it consumed, and how effectively their GPU embedded in the central processor is utilized. They showed us that their computing processors integrated into the CPU were quite happy from the graphics point of view. Their engineer came to us and sat together with us in the next room, reviewing our rendering.
An example of such a collaboration in 1.0 is the joint presentation at the Game Developers Conference, GDC. At this conference, we will present Update 1.0 to the North American audience for the first time, and also present our work in progress that wasn't included in the current release, but will perhaps be released in the upcoming versions, and help us know more about its effective implementation, and create a background for collaboration over new projects.
I'm sure that it's still just the beginning. There's a lot more to come in terms of understanding each other from a technology point of view, as well from a marketing, commercial, business point of view. There is a lot we can offer to each other, and I really feel it's, as I said, just the beginning. More will come in terms of the collaboration and learning from each other, making, at the end of the day, being able to offer the best experience possible. I think it's what we, both companies, aim for.
Of course, after this many years of cooperation, testing countless preliminary versions, and many trips to Minsk, and working with the guys, I've become a dedicated tanker. The new graphics, map detail, and additional effects that appeared in 1.0 make you wait for the release and relive the game process once again.
We are here, to talk about World of Tanks 1.0. And personally, I'm super excited. I can't wait to see the upgrade coming and get lots of fans to really enjoy it. I was lucky enough to, be aware to some extent of what's going to be coming, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. So I will invite anyone who's been playing World of Tanks, and actually even people who hasn't had the chance to play it, to give it a go. Play the game, you will have lots of fun, and hopefully, you will start a new journey into a new game.
That's how it happens. You're working at Intel and then bam, you're one of us, a tanker. And as we all know, the most important thing for tankers is gameplay. The question, could HD maps break the gameplay? Worried everyone.
Initially, when we started testing these dummies because their quality wasn't ready for release, there were a lot of questions about the gameplay.
You want to create something beautiful, and then you see, you need to shoot through a little knoll here. It will get in your way. No guys, let's remove that.
So we first fought up to the end to transfer every bush, every stone, so that they occupy just the same place as before, to keep the gameplay as it is.
You play automatically, the maps are the same, you get to mines, and the scheme of actions draws up in your head, where you spawned, where to go, and you're reminding yourself that you need to analyze the map. What can be an issue here? What are we doing wrong?
Even if the picture is visually unfamiliar, you can automatically drive to the position, even using cruise control.
Gameplay comes first. So no beauty should hamper playing the game.
We dug over. Well, we didn't dig over maps. We tried to keep the gameplay as much as possible. We spent a lot of time making sure we didn't make any new gameplay changes.
That's how it was initially. We insisted on this. But, for example, a few winter maps will be released. We know about them. There are 2 or 3 of them. We will add winter maps, but when we were revising the map list, we knew that Erlenberg wasn't playable in its current state. And it's a winter map, and we don't have enough of them in general, so we had to rework it.
These were the changes required to fix, let's say, certain flawed moments.
To do so, we made some concessions like, okay, let's move something here a little bit, and here as well. So it's what we all stood against at first, including myself.
I'm still a player at heart. And as a player, I understand that in certain moments, graphics act like an accelerator for emotions. It enhances them. When you're lucky, when you carry the battles and you see some amazing effects, everything is beautiful around. It just makes your emotions stronger in the background.
One very important thing is that graphics change the experience of the game you're playing. The gameplay, the core gameplay, didn't change. But the perception of graphics and sound we added let the players feel like they are playing a new game.
It's quite unusual, of course, but I think everyone will get used to it eventually.
Yes, there will be some unfamiliarity. There are new objects on a number of maps. The terrain has changed in some areas, and the graphics itself changes your experience. But this is still our favorite world of tanks. By the way, this update should have been released in 2017. Developers, what's the matter?
There is only one reason for shifting the release date, and it is actually trivial. Every time we approached the release date, we understood that the scope of changes for the update to be released should be different.
Once again, we wanted to do the following. We wanted to release a version on the new engine, but with full backwards compatibility. We wanted players to see the game with the new maps as soon as possible, with just a few of them, but as soon as possible. And then, at one point, we realized that we were making the same mistakes, and we had already gone through this twice. Maybe we should take a different road this time.
So we decided not to follow the route of version 9.0 when we released tanks one by one, for a very simple reason. It was almost impossible to support old and new maps simultaneously.
Initially, we were going to release the maps in August 2017. But this would have been 9.0 again. There would have been a few maps, and we would have had to hurry a bit. However, we managed to find the strength and desire to show patience and bring everything to a conclusion.
Plus, we were aware that if we gave more time to the artists for implementing the technology, for adapting to the new technology, they would be able to show a better result.
When we started working on the maps for 1.0, we made Abbey first and showed it at WG Fest, but we had already reworked it once, because a year later we looked at it and decided it's not good enough in some places. Let's make some quick adjustments. Since we had accumulated enough experience and content, we needed to tweak it.
The Abbey map that we made and maps that we started to make afterwards were head and shoulders above the others.
And then, at one point, after a new matchmaker was introduced in 9.18, it became clear that for a stable matchmaker, we needed at least 20 maps.
It required more time, and the sprint started to become a very quick marathon.
We had to put the creation of new maps on hold. This meant that all our efforts were focused on reworking the maps.
And it was a difficult moment, because people didn't go on vacation for a long while. They crunched and worked on Saturdays. And at that point we were like, oh boy, how long will we have to work like this?
It is not right to ask for more under such conditions. Of course, we wanted to release all maps at once, but the story with HD tanks taught us to be patient.
It may be nice for business to set tight deadlines, but the team would have given up the ghost in about 9 months.
That's why about 18 months passed between the announcement at WG Fest in December 2016 and the release.
This decision to postpone the update, not to release it partially, not to release half of the previous version and half of the new version was, I think, a very important milestone because it allowed us to focus on important things. Finally resolve all the issues related to the technological debt and close that old bag of content that we carried with us all this time. We reworked everything from scratch and made our future life significantly easier for making further improvements, as well as significantly improving the visual aspect.
At that moment, we realized it's victory, Carl. We only need to make all the maps.
Now we have come as close to the release as possible. We dealt with a great number of problems and restrictions, frayed a lot of our nerves, but finally approached the desirable date. And I think, needless to say, that this is truly emotional.
We've just taken a huge step forward. And this step is supported visually. Yes, we will deliver the new graphics. It's a stepping stone to the future. The new engine can give us many more opportunities than we currently can release.
I'm happy about the opportunity to really have such a cinematic picture in the game. And this isn't just the environment. This is also the explosions, shots, and different sounds. This will look very harmonious.
We all actually look forward to the moment when we can finally take a sigh of relief.
Do we have any concerns? Yes, obviously, it's a risk for us.
This is the project of my life. Broadly speaking, I've spent basically all my professional resources on it. During all this time, I've been working only on World of Tanks, and it's very important to me that we finally did this.
Fortunately, we learned to overcome those hard, big world restrictions. The appearance of a new engine showed us that we could do everything we wanted. This will be an opportunity to implement all our accumulated experience, fix all those mistakes that have been made before. This will be hard.
Oh, I'll have emotions like, that's it, I can finally go on vacation.
When you see the results of your work and satisfied people, it's enjoyable. It really is.
Of course, we're already like, oh, we still need to do a lot, it's waiting for us. But we all want to take a breather, because we're really, really tired, guys.
This is like theatre. Like ballet. You may have your toes all knocked, but you're still happy. The last 7 years were a sort of beta test, and finally, here's update 1.0.
This is indeed a landmark moment. The game that has existed for more than 7 years is now making a great step forward. And you know what's most important? We'll keep on making steps, because only one thing can make the game great. And there's only one, but the most important reason for all of this.
For me, the game is great because of the people who play it. If it wasn't for our players, we wouldn't have this game at all. Well, it could be a World of Tanks of the year 2020 maybe, and that's it. Those who you're playing with and against, your opponents and allies, make this game great.